My father-in-law installed hidden cameras in our bedroom to make sure we were trying for grandchildren, then showed the footage to his prayer group. So I did this, and now he's banned from his church throwaway account for obvious reasons, but I need advice. So I, female, 29, need some serious perspective here, because I feel like I'm going insane and don't know if I'm overreacting or not. This is going to be long, so sorry in advance. I've been married to my husband, Will, male, 31, for a little over 3 years now. We met at my friend Jenna's housewarming party, where we basically spent the whole night ignoring everyone else and talking about board games and how Rocco's Modern Life was basically the best 90s cartoon. It is. Fight me. He's a software engineer at this mid-sized tech company, and I work in marketing for a local nonprofit. We're pretty normal, boring people who just wanted to live our lives in peace until, well, this whole nightmare. So the background is that Will's dad, Alfred, male, 67, is a widower. His wife, Rebecca, Will's mom, died from ovarian cancer about 4 years ago. It was really hard on both of them, obviously, but especially on Alfred. They were married for like 40 years or something, and he just never really figured out how to move on, like at all. He still sets a place for her at the table during holidays, which honestly makes everyone super uncomfortable, but no one says anything because grief is weird, I guess. Ever since Rebecca died, Alfred has been obsessed with us having kids. And I mean obsessed. Like, it's basically all he talks about whenever we see him. He's constantly going on about continuing the family line and how it was Rebecca's dying wish to have grandchildren, which, by the way, Will says she never actually said. He sends us articles about fertility treatments all the time, even though we never asked for them. He's even offered to pay for IVF multiple times, which is, it's generous, I guess, but also super invasive. For context, we have been trying for a baby for about 8 months, but we haven't told anyone about it because it's literally nobody's business but ours. And honestly, the pressure from Alfred has made the whole thing way less enjoyable than it should be. The Sunday dinners at his house are the worst. He literally interrogates us about our progress on giving him grandchildren. He's asked me about my cycle before at the dinner table. Will usually just sits there looking uncomfortable but doesn't say much. I've tried to set boundaries, but Alfred just bulldozes right over them, and Will never backs me up. I probably should have seen the red flags earlier, but hindsight and all that. Oh, and Alfred is like super respected at his conservative church. He's a deacon and leads this prayer group that's basically all elderly people. Everyone thinks he's this amazing, godly man who can do no wrong. He volunteers for everything and is basically the church handyman too. So anyway, about 3 weeks ago, Alfred stayed at our house for a week to help with some renovations in our kitchen. During that week, he made some super weird comments about our bedroom habits that made me really uncomfortable. He asked if we were being fruitful enough and suggested that certain positions were better for conception. I wanted to die. Will just laughed it off and didn't tell him to stop. Then last week, everything went to complete hell. I was dusting in our bedroom and noticed this digital clock on Will's nightstand that I didn't remember buying. When I mentioned it to Will, he just shrugged and said his dad probably got it for us as a gift and went back to watching TV. But something about it just seemed off. I don't know how to explain it. So I was dusting a few days later and accidentally knocked the clock over, and that's when I saw it, a tiny camera lens hidden in the clock face. I felt sick immediately. I started frantically searching the room and found another camera disguised as an air freshener in the corner. Then I checked the bathroom and found a third one hidden in this decorative towel hook that I also didn't remember buying. I called Will in a complete panic, and he rushed home from work. He confirmed they were wireless cameras that transmit to a smartphone app. I was absolutely losing my mind at this point and demanded we confront his dad immediately. Will agreed, but said we should handle this carefully because he was sure there was an explanation, which made me want to scream because what possible explanation could there be? We drove to Alfred's house and I was shaking the entire time. When we got there, Will did most of the talking at first, gently asking his dad about the cameras. Alfred immediately denied everything, saying he had no idea what we were talking about. But then Will showed him the actual cameras and some technical evidence linking them to Alfred's phone. I don't understand the details, but Will does tech stuff. After like 20 minutes of back and forth, Alfred finally admitted he installed them, and his justification. I still can't believe this. He said he needed to make sure we were actually trying properly for grandchildren and that he was just looking out for the family future. I was livid. I started yelling at him about invasion of privacy and how messed up this was. And you know what Will did? He just stood there, not really backing me up, but not defending his dad either. He kept trying to keep the peace, saying we just need to remove the cameras and figure this out. But it gets worse. A couple days later, I ran into Marlene, this 72-year-old lady from Alfred's prayer group, at the grocery store. She asked me how I was doing with my fertility issues, which we have never discussed with anyone, and said they've all been praying for us. I was confused and asked what she meant, and she let slip that Alfred had been showing selected footage from our bedroom to his entire church prayer group of like 6 to 7 elderly people so they could pray for our fertility issues. I literally had to leave my shopping cart in the middle of the store and go sit in my car and cry. I have never felt so violated in my entire life. When I told Will about this, he said we shouldn't make waves because that's just how Dad is and he means well. Are you kidding me? His father filmed us in our bedroom and showed it to people from church, and Will thinks we shouldn't make waves. I feel completely betrayed by both of them. By Alfred for the obvious reasons, and by Will for not having my back on this. I've already consulted a lawyer who confirmed that Alfred's actions constitute several serious privacy violations, but I don't know what to do next. We'll keep saying we should just forget about it and move on for the sake of family harmony. He's sleeping in the guest room right now because I can't even look at him. Am I overreacting here? What should I do? I feel like I'm going crazy. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, we've removed all the cameras and checked the entire house for others. Will did a full sweep with some technical equipment from his work. 2. No, I don't know exactly what footage was shown to the prayer group. I was too shocked and upset to ask Marlene for details. And honestly, I don't think I want to know. 3. Several people have asked if we're in a one-party consent state. Yes, we are. But my lawyer said that doesn't apply here because both of us had a reasonable expectation of privacy in our own bedroom and bathroom. Also, neither of us consented anyway. 4. To everyone asking about pressing charges, I'm still considering it, but honestly, I'm overwhelmed with everything right now and trying to figure out what to do about my marriage first. 5. For those suggesting I might be overreacting, would you be okay with your in-laws secretly filming you in your bedroom and bathroom and then showing that footage to their church friends? Seriously. Now for the first update. So a lot has happened since my last post a few weeks ago. Feels like years, honestly. First, thank you to everyone who commented and messaged me support. I literally sat in my car crying reading some of your comments because it made me feel less crazy when so many people agreed this was completely messed up. It's been about 3 weeks since we found those cameras in our bedroom and bathroom. Will and I have been sleeping in separate bedrooms since then. Not because we're fighting exactly, well, we were, but that's changed now, but because I can't feel safe in our bedroom anymore. Like every time I change clothes, I get this horrible sick feeling that someone's watching me, even though we know we got all the cameras out. Will did multiple sweeps with some tech equipment from his work and promises there's nothing left, but my brain just won't believe it. I've been having these anxiety attacks almost every night. Like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. convinced someone is watching me, and I'll start frantically checking every single object in the room. I bought these heavy blackout curtains for literally every window in the house, and I still feel exposed. It's honestly been affecting everything. I had to turn down this promotion at work because I can't focus on anything besides this whole violation thing. My boss was super confused because I've been working toward this for like a year, but I just couldn't explain what was really going on. Anyway, about a week after my last post, Will found emails on our shared computer that his dad had been sending to his prayer group. His dad was actually discussing the camera footage with them and saying he needed to identify problems with Will's technique and claiming I was refusing to try for children. He was basically critiquing our bedroom activities to a group of elderly church people. When Will saw those emails, something finally clicked for him. He finally understood how serious and messed up this whole thing was. He came to me crying and kept apologizing over and over for not immediately standing up for me. He said he felt torn between his loyalty to his dad and to me, but that he knew now that what his dad did was completely unforgivable. The emails made me curious, so I actually managed to get into Alfred's email account because Will had set it up for him years ago, and the password was never changed. It was literally Rebecca1234, his dead wife's name and some numbers, super secure. And what I found, there were messages to his prayer group with actual links to cloud storage with selected bedroom footage, with messages asking them to pray for me to become more receptive to God's plan for procreation. I was shaking so hard I could barely read the screen. Will had to take over and document everything. I keep having these nightmares where I'm at the grocery store and all these elderly people from church are just staring at me and whispering about what they saw. I wake up sweating and crying almost every night. So after finding this evidence, Will and I decided to talk to Pastor Stephen at Alfred's church. We didn't tell Alfred we were going, just scheduled a meeting directly with Pastor Stephen. I was so nervous because Alfred is this super respected deacon, and I was worried the pastor would just dismiss us. When we first sat down, Pastor Stephen seemed really uncomfortable, but then we started showing him the evidence. First, I showed him pictures of the cameras we found. He looked confused, but was still being polite. Then Will explained how his dad justified the cameras as ensuring we were trying for grandchildren. Pastor Stephen thought there must be some misunderstanding. Then I showed him the emails discussing us with the prayer group. His face changed from polite skepticism to absolute horror in seconds. He asked if we were sure the prayer group was involved, so I showed him the emails with the links to the footage and the group responses. Pastor Stephen told us this violated everything their faith stands for. And then Pastor Stephen revealed that Alfred had been using church mission funds to purchase the surveillance equipment. Money that was supposed to be for helping people in need was used to spy on us in our bedroom. Pastor Stephen promised to call an emergency meeting with church leadership about this. He seemed genuinely horrified and apologized to us multiple times. But Alfred somehow found out we talked to Pastor Stephen, and he has started this ridiculous smear campaign against me. He's telling family members and church friends that I'm destroying the family over a simple misunderstanding, and that I'm keeping Will from having the children he desperately wants, which is completely untrue. Will and I both want kids eventually, but we're currently dealing with the fact that his father is a perverted psycho. The reactions from people have been mixed. Some family members and church people have been calling and texting constantly, telling us to let it go for family harmony, and that Alfred is old and doesn't understand modern privacy. He's 67, not 107 FS. But others have been surprisingly supportive. Will's Aunt Judy actually surprised me. She initially sided with Alfred and called me crying about how I was tearing the family apart. But when I showed her some of the evidence, including timestamps proving Alfred had been watching us for weeks, she completely changed her tune. She was absolutely disgusted and has been one of our biggest supporters since then. So now the church leadership has called a formal hearing to address Alfred's actions. Pastor Stephen explained that this could result in Alfred losing his position as deacon and possibly facing other church discipline. Alfred has been trying everything to delay this hearing, suddenly claiming all these health problems that magically appear and disappear depending on who he's talking to. He's telling everyone that we're persecuting an old man who just wants grandchildren before he dies. It's so manipulative. Oh, and last week, while we were both at work, Alfred tried to use his spare key, which we completely forgot he had, to get into our house. Our neighbor saw him and texted me because she thought it was suspicious. When we confronted him, he claimed he was just checking on us, but Will thinks he was trying to retrieve any additional evidence we might have against him. We immediately changed all the locks and installed a security system. After 2 postponements due to Alfred's health issues, the church hearing has finally been scheduled for next week. I'm nervous about facing people who have potentially seen intimate footage of our bedroom, but I'm determined to see this through. These people need to know what kind of person they've been following. Will has suggested we consider moving to a new house where we would feel safe again, and honestly, I'm seriously considering it. I don't think I'll ever feel completely comfortable in this house, knowing what happened here. And obviously, we've put trying for a baby on hold while we work through all this. I never thought I'd be dealing with something like this. Like, who installs cameras in their son's bedroom and then shows the footage to church people? Sometimes, I still can't believe this is actually happening. Edit. To clarify, since a lot of people are asking, yes, we've considered pressing criminal charges. We've talked to a lawyer and everything. But honestly, we're still figuring out if we want to go that route. The legal process would be super invasive and public, and I'm already struggling with the violation of privacy. For now, we're focusing on the church hearing since that's where most of Alfred's social power comes from. Edit 2. Several people have asked if we're in therapy. Yes, we started seeing a marriage counselor last week. Will finally realized how badly he messed up by not immediately supporting me, and we're working through it. The counselor was horrified when we explained the situation. Edit 3. To the person who suggested we search for cameras at Alfred's house next time we visit, are you kidding me? I am never stepping foot in that house again. And honestly, that would make us just as bad as him. Edit 4. For those saying I should have gone to the police first instead of the church, I understand where you're coming from, but you have to understand that in Alfred's community, the church is basically the highest authority. Losing his position as deacon and being disciplined by the church would be devastating to him in a way that maybe legal consequences wouldn't be. Plus, as many commenters pointed out on my last post, legal cases about this stuff can be complicated depending on who owns the property, etc. Edit 5. Stop asking for more details about what was on the footage. I don't know exactly what was shown to the prayer group, and I do not want to know. The fact that anything from our private bedroom was shared is violating enough. Now for the second update. So it's been about a month since my last update, and honestly it feels like 10 years have passed. Thanks to everyone who commented with support. I've read every single message, even though I couldn't respond to all of them. Those of you who shared your own stories about intrusive in-laws, wow. Mine might be extreme, but it's scary how common this kind of boundary stomping is. So many people ask for an update about the church hearing, so here goes. A lot has happened. First though, Will and I started seeing this marriage counselor right after my last post, like many of you suggested. It's been actually really helpful. The first session was basically just me crying for an hour straight, while the counselor looked horrified as we explained the whole camera situation. But it's helped Will understand why I felt so betrayed when he didn't immediately back me up, and helped me understand why he froze up when confronting his only remaining parent. It's still a work in progress, but we're communicating better. Oh, and a weird side effect of all this. I've developed this insane habit of checking every electronic device in hotel rooms when we travel. Like I literally take apart alarm clocks and air fresheners looking for hidden cameras. Last weekend we went to this B&B for a reconnecting trip our counselor suggested, and I spent the first hour inspecting everything while the innkeeper probably thought I was nuts. Will was super patient about it though. I never mentioned this before, but Will's cousin Connie has been amazingly supportive through all this, which is surprising because she used to be super close with Alfred. She's been dropping off meals and checking in on us constantly. She told me that Alfred tried to get her on his side by telling her we were persecuting him for caring too much, but she shut him down immediately. Apparently she's had her own issues with him being weirdly controlling about her life choices. My mom even flew in from Arizona to support us, which is a huge deal because we've had a really strained relationship since my parents' divorce. She's been staying in our guest room for 2 weeks and somehow hasn't driven me completely insane yet. She actually helped us prepare all our evidence for the church hearing, which was intense. Speaking of preparation, we gathered everything. The actual cameras, which were kept in a locked box because I can't even look at them without feeling sick. Screenshots of all Alfred's emails to the prayer group. The financial records Pastor Stephen found showing Alfred used church mission funds to buy the surveillance equipment, like $1,200 worth, and even written statements from 2 prayer group members who felt manipulated by how Alfred presented the whole situation to them. The whole time we were preparing, Alfred was telling anyone who would listen that he was being persecuted for caring too much, and that I was turning Will against his own father. He kept calling random family members to complain about us, and several of them called us asking why we were putting an old man through this stress. He's 67 and literally goes hiking every weekend, but okay. The night before the church hearing, Alfred showed up at our house unannounced. Will answered the door. I was upstairs having a panic attack because I recognized his car in the driveway. Alfred claimed he wanted to make peace before the hearing, but it quickly became obvious he was trying to convince Will to withdraw the complaint. I stayed at the top of the stairs listening. I know that's probably wrong, but whatever, and heard Alfred say stuff like, "Your mother would be so disappointed in how you're treating me. And is this woman really worth destroying our family over?" At one point, he actually said, "Those cameras were an investment in our family's future," which made me want to throw up. But Will, oh my freaking God, Will finally stepped up. He told Alfred that what he did was completely unforgivable, and that if he truly didn't understand why it was wrong, that was even more concerning. When Alfred tried to guilt him about Rebecca, Will actually said, "Mom would be horrified by what you've done." Then he asked Alfred to leave and said they'd see him at the hearing tomorrow. I was literally shaking listening to this, but also so proud. So the church hearing, here's how it went down. We arrived at the church about 15 minutes early, and there were like 3 to 4 prayer group members waiting outside. I nearly had a panic attack thinking they were there to support Alfred, but they actually wanted to apologize to us directly before the hearing. One elderly lady was literally in tears, saying she had no idea what she was really being shown. It was awkward, but also kind of validating. Pastor Stephen led us to this private conference room where 5 church elders, 3 men, 2 women, all like 60 plus, were seated at this long table. Alfred wasn't there yet, and Pastor Stephen said they'd wait exactly 10 minutes for him before starting without him. Alfred showed up exactly 9 minutes later with his sister Judy, Will's aunt who I mentioned before. She was there for moral support, even though she's now firmly on our side. Alfred looked shocked to see her with us. Pastor Stephen started with this prayer asking for wisdom and healing and truth to be revealed. I'm not religious, but even I was like, amen to that. Then the church financial committee guy presented evidence that Alfred had misused $1,200 of mission funds to purchase the surveillance equipment. He showed receipts and everything. Alfred immediately interrupted, saying it was an investment in family futures, and that he planned to pay it back with interest when my grandchildren arrive. Several elders looked physically ill at this statement. Then 2 prayer group members, including the crying lady from earlier, testified that Alfred had misled them about what the footage showed. He had told them it was just evidence of marital problems and that they needed to pray for our fertility issues. They had no idea it was actual bedroom footage until Pastor Stephen explained the situation to them. Alfred literally stood up and called them traitors. He said, "After all I've done for this church, you turn on me like this?" Pastor Stephen had to ask him to sit down and be respectful. Then Will presented the evidence about the cameras and Alfred's emails. He was so calm and clear about everything, it was impressive. I was sitting there trying not to have a complete breakdown, remembering all of it. When it was Alfred's turn to speak, he just kept saying everything was done out of love and that we were overreacting to a simple misunderstanding. He actually said, "When you have children of your own, you'll understand that sometimes love requires extreme measures." I almost threw up right there in the church. Pastor Stephen asked directly if Alfred saw anything wrong with his actions. And oh my fricking God, Alfred literally said he was doing God's work and would do it again if necessary. The room went completely silent. The church elders went to another room for like 10 minutes to discuss. When they came back, they announced their decision. Alfred was permanently removed from his deacon position. He's banned from all leadership roles in the church forever. His church membership is suspended for a full year. Reinstatement would require completing counseling and making amends to us. They're also requiring him to repay the mission funds with interest. Alfred completely lost it. He started shouting about how the church was corrupted by modern values and that they would answer to God for persecuting him. He said Pastor Stephen had turned everyone against him and that this was just like when Jesus was betrayed. Then he stormed out. It was honestly disturbing to watch. The aftermath was intense. Several church members came up to apologize for initially believing Alfred's version of events. Pastor Stephen offered us pastoral counseling, we politely declined, and asked if they could use this case anonymously as an example in a sermon about respecting boundaries. We said that was fine, as long as no identifying details were included. Judy tried to follow Alfred after he stormed out, but apparently he rejected her support because she had chosen the wrong side. She was pretty upset about it, but said she didn't regret supporting us. We've decided not to pursue criminal charges. The lawyer said we definitely could, but honestly, the church discipline and family consequences seem sufficient. Alfred is clearly struggling with grief and control issues since losing Rebecca, and while that doesn't excuse anything he did, we don't feel like the legal system would help the situation. Plus, I really don't want this to become even more public than it already is. We're enforcing strict boundaries going forward. No contact with Alfred for at least 6 months, and mandatory proof of counseling before any relationship can be rebuilt. Will has been amazingly firm about this, even though I can tell it's hard for him. We found a house. It's in a completely different neighborhood with this excellent security system, and no, Alfred has never been there, so he doesn't know the address. Our offer was accepted last week, and we close next month. I still check our current house for cameras almost daily. I know it's paranoid, but I can't help it. We've decided to put trying for a baby on hold for at least a year. We need to focus on rebuilding our sense of safety and privacy first. Plus, the stress of all this has completely destroyed any baby-making mood, if you know what I mean. Some family relationships will probably never be the same, but Will and I are actually stronger for having faced this together. He finally understands how important boundaries with his dad are, and he's chosen our relationship above everything else. Several church members have invited us to visit their congregation. Apparently, many of them are leaving Alfred's church after all this. But we're taking time to decide if we want to be part of any religious community right now. We're focusing on creating a safe home where we can eventually start our family on our own terms, free from surveillance and judgment. Thank you all for your support through this absolute nightmare. I never thought I'd be posting about hidden cameras and church hearings on Reddit, but here we are. Life is weird. Edit. Oh my frickin' God, thank you for all the awards and kind comments. I'm trying to respond to as many as I can. Edit 2. To everyone asking if I've checked my current workplace for cameras, yes, I've swept my office and even asked our IT department to check. They thought I was nuts until I explained a vague version of the situation. Everything is clean. Edit 3. A lot of people are asking if Alfred has tried to contact us since the hearing. Yes, he's called Will about 20 times and left voicemails alternating between angry rants and tearful apologies. Will hasn't responded to any of them. Alfred also sent a very formal email apologizing for any misunderstanding, but never actually admitting what he did was wrong. Classic non-apology. Edit 4. For those saying we should have pressed charges, I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But the thought of going through a legal process where those videos might become evidence that other people would see, I just can't handle that right now. Maybe that makes me weak, but it's where I am. Edit 5. To answer the many questions about whether we'll ever let Alfred see our future children, honestly, I don't know. Will says maybe someday with very strict supervision if Alfred gets serious help. I'm not there yet. The thought of him anywhere near my hypothetical future children makes me feel physically sick right now. Edit 6. No, I'm not going to share any details about what exactly was shown to the prayer group. Please stop asking. The fact that anything from our bedroom was shared is violating enough.